Hello and welcome to the Learn How to See Better podcast, the only podcast out there known to actually improve your vision the longer you listen. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I'm glad you've joined me here today. I can't wait to share some great information with you about how to improve your health, wealth, and relationships. So let's get right down to it, shall we? Hey everyone, it's Drew, and I want to welcome you all back to the Learn How to See Better podcast. And in today's episode, I am very excited because of the subject that I want to talk to you all about, mostly because of the title topic. This is the Learn How to See Better podcast, but guess what? Today I want to talk about how to learn less. That might sound a little intuitively not so obvious, but I'll explain. Learning how to learn less is actually a skill, because what I found in the last decade, since I started on my personal development and entrepreneurial journey, was that when you learn something new for the first time, it can be extremely exciting, and it can put your brain on fire in a good way, of course. And, I think back to when I first started to get some very exciting education, and it was in the arena of real estate. Going back to, let's see, what was it, 2008, 2009? I had the opportunity to learn about real estate for the first time, and it was kind of by accident. I remember at the time, I was living in the first house that I'd bought, and the scenario was basically the market was, in the dumps. This was a decade back. We were going through the Great Recession. And I remember thinking, I need to learn how to become a landlord because I can't sell my house right now. And that was one of those things I didn't know about, people doing strategic foreclosures and just, cash for keys and all those things. I had bought a house, and all of a sudden I was quote unquote upside down on it, meaning that I owed more than the property was worth. And that scenario, was further complicated by the fact that I was also buying a house. My then girlfriend, now wife, was buying a house. And so we were going to be living together. But one thing kind of mattered. I couldn't sell my house, and I didn't know what to do. And I knew very little about real estate. I thought that, the only ways you can make money in real estate is either you do those TV show type remodeling, fancy fix and flip type deals, or you're a landlord, just collecting mailbox money every month. And neither of those grabbed me for any particular reason, because I was just very uneducated about the subject and the industry in general. But I remember it like yesterday. I was trying to close out my email, and I saw some ad talking about some free real estate training class. I thought, wow, it's free. Maybe I can go there and get a tip or two on how to be a landlord, right? Crazy to think. And little did I know, my real estate education was about to begin. And the beauty of that was, I remember going to this event and thinking, wow, this is some amazing information. I just got my eyes opened to all these different ways that you can become financially successful in this real estate investing arena. And there was an opportunity for me to continue that learning over a special 3-day course. And I said, oh my goodness, what an amazing opportunity to keep this learning. I'm so excited. And then next thing you know, I went and made the big plunge on the next level of education. And all of a sudden, you guessed it, I became a real estate investor. And the crazy part about that, the whole learning how to learn less thing is, I kid you not, this was some of the most exciting information I'd ever been exposed to. Way more exciting than the engineering courses that I'd taken in my undergraduate degree, because I saw a lot more immediate, tangible, financial gain that could come from this know-how, this knowledge. And I remember the crazy thing about it was that there were so many opportunities to learn. I mean, if you're just a voracious reader of books or a lover of knowledge, boy, oh boy, could you get your appetite whet. And what was a little bit different about that was this. You can't learn it all in the information age, and you don't really realize that when you're first getting started. You're getting you're getting snowballs of great information thrown at you left and right and left and right and left and right and left and right and left and right. And then what you would find is there would be a unique new opportunity to go and learn a little bit more. And so why do I keep talking about this learning and all this learning I was doing? Like, get to the point already. The point is this: you can invest a significant amount of capital into your education, your business education. This isn't specific to real estate. This is pretty much anything out there, right? Any great opportunity outside of the traditional corporate job, there's going to be an opportunity to learn about it. No different than when we had an opportunity to attend college and learn more about, engineering or you know, marketing or medicine or whatever you choose to major in, law, you name it. But there's generally a point where you graduate and it's time to put this learning to work for you. Well, in the arena of the entrepreneur, it's a little bit different because there's always more that can be learned about a given topic. And so, generally that education might not be free, but that's okay. One of the best investments we can make is into the real estate between our two ears. Here's the kicker though. Very often there are scenarios where people can get stuck learning. We all know about Johnny, little Johnny, that's got all those degrees, right? Might be the smartest guy in the room, but can't rub two nickels together, right? He's overeducated. He's stuck in a learning loop. And that's what I've noticed can get you, especially if you're looking to build a business, right? You understand that you need to be willing to invest in your ongoing education and building your business. But the tricky piece is if you got your business started via, an education vehicle, it's a very gray area because you don't necessarily know when you need to stop learning. So you go to college and you major in something, and once you take all the classes, you're done. You're blessed and treated as someone that can go out into the world and make money. But then you think about some of the higher paid occupations, doctor, lawyer. What happens to them when their education is quote unquote completed? Well, it's not really done because now you've got to start a legal practice, or you get the opportunity to start a medical practice. And it's kind of funky to think about the actual word practice. You're practicing being a doctor on me. You're practicing on my case, right? But the point is that it's the ongoing learning really starts when you're out there in the field. And so if you're building a business, let's say you're building a real estate business, right? You're going to be presented with the dilemma of, do I take more classes to get further specialized knowledge, or do I start to get out there and pound the pavement and make some things happen? And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, because we live in the information age, there is an endless sea of information where you could literally learn forever, the rest of your days, and not know it all. So why is that important? We must be able to regulate our own base of knowledge and understand, okay, when I've taken some classes on this, that, and the other, how much education is enough? How much do I actually need to be able to put into action? Because it's the two pieces to the puzzle. You acquire the information, you acquire the education, then you activate the education. Because if you don't activate it and you're only acquiring it, guess what? It's going to get stale. It's going to get outdated. You're going to forget stuff. Once you take action, you're generally going to have an experience associated with that action. And that action is going to create a feeling or an emotion. And that's what kind of makes the information stick. So if you are going to go out and be a business owner and you have to deal with selling something, but you don't have any experience with that, you could sit and take sales classes until the cows come home. But until you go out there and start asking for business and making offers and getting rejected and getting that feeling, you're not actually acquiring the information. You're not activating the education. So you might say that, yeah, you know about sales, but if you've never tried to sell anything and get rejected and see what that feels like, you don't really have a base from which you can actually learn. You just know about the concept of sales. And so that's just one scenario where too often people can get stuck in learning loops. And, I'm in the real estate space. I recognize and understand that there's a lot of great information about real estate and real estate investing. And there are a very large number of qualified experts that can teach you how to be successful in real estate. But the challenge is if you sit and take class after 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 class and neglect to activate the education that you've just acquired, you have now created a learning loop. Yes, a learning loop. And the real only way to get out of that is to acknowledge what you're doing. You're stuck in a loop of learning, right? Now, it's one thing when, say a decade ago, people would go and the economy was bad, couldn't get a job after you graduate from college. All right, looks like I'm getting my master's. I'm getting my PhD, right? In that case, you're kind of buying time to get to a point. You're actually strategically acquiring education so that you can later activate it. But what is essential to take from all of this is to break that cycle. You need to shift your focus and shift your mentality to say, okay, what is the immediate task that I'm trying to accomplish right now that I don't know how to do? And what education, what learning is necessary to complete that thing? I don't need to know like how to do the, level 500 expert PhD, reserve superstar nugget. If you're at a basic level just getting started, you have the responsibility to take that basic level of information and take action on it, because there'll always be more opportunity to educate more later. But if you're consistently acquiring and not activating, you're really going to draw a lot of conflict, because you're going to feel really smart and you're not going to have any results or any tangible proof to help demonstrate your knowledge. I mean, like, if you think about it, being smart and having a lot of information about a particular topic doesn't really put any money in your pocket. It's the people that go out there and take massive action, even massive imperfect action, even if they don't have all the answers and don't know all the information. Those are the go-getters that are going to be able to learn faster because they've learned how to learn less. And they're functioning on the philosophy of just-in-time learning. I'm going to learn just what I need right now to do this. I don't need all that other stuff right now, because a lot of people get distracted and slow down. So if you're able to identify when you go through your learning processes and education, at what point do you need to stop learning and take some action? And if you find yourself struggling to focus on new information, it's like, okay, take baby bite-sized sips, or, consume tiny chunks and then take action on those small chunks to help alleviate some of that. But learning how to learn less sounds tricky and counterintuitive, because it's not about the actual learning less. It's about learning less right now and only learning the things that you need to focus on to get the job done. Because if you take the approach of trying to learn everything under the sun before you do the first thing, yeah, that's probably not going to work out so well, because it's activated education that yields results. So if you're listening to this and you are stuck in a learning loop, maybe you learned something from this podcast. Maybe you learned that the number one thing that could be beneficial for you to do is to take action on something you learn, right? So what have you all learned from this podcast episode? Probably that you're learning too much, right? Maybe you learned something from this. If you have, as soon as this episode wraps up, go take stock of the areas in your life where you're studying, where you're learning, and do you actually have enough information to take a baby step or to take an initial step towards that goal? Because if you do, go for it. That's where you start to cement the knowledge that you're acquiring to actually activate it. So hopefully that's a useful tip on this podcast episode. Learn how to learn less It's really just a function of focusing on the learning that you need most, that you need right now, and it's going to directly correlate with you reaching your primary objective. So thank you and best of luck out there learning how to learn less. Well, all right. That was some great content, wasn't it? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked it. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I want to thank you for listening to the Learn How to See Better podcast today. And don't forget to subscribe and tune in for future episodes, and be sure to share with a friend if you are enjoying this content. Thanks, and see you next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.